Hey everyone, Happy New Year. We're almost there. 2024 is just around the corner. But before we get there, I wanted to take a look back at some of the big stories of 2023. These are the ones that rose to the top. You know, they say Atlanta influences everything. 2023 proved that. I think Atlanta probably made headlines just about once every month all year long. And I'm proud to be amongst the journalists who brought you the stories, the pictures, the video, the content, the stuff that you need to stay informed. Let's take a look back. One story that kept making headlines in 2023 was the controversy surrounding the proposed public safety training facility. On January 21st, a protest turned into a riot and an Atlanta police cruiser was set ablaze. Less than 1 week later, Governor Kemp had declared a state of emergency in Georgia, deploying the National Guard to downtown Atlanta. I actually waited in my car for about 5 hours for this scene to play out, and I was the first one to capture it with a drone. On February 18, 2023, the Carter Center released a statement on the health of former U.S. President Jimmy Carter that he would be entering hospice care. With the release of this statement, newsrooms across America dedicated resources to tracking the former president's health. Later that year, Jimmy Carter would celebrate his 99th birthday. The Carter Center posted a message on Atlanta's iconic Corey Tower. Sadly, on November 19, 2023, former First Lady Rosalynn Carter passed away at the age of 96. She was a champion of mental health, caregiving, and women's rights. On March 5th, those opposed to what they call Cop City launched an attack on the construction site of the facility. They used incendiary devices to torch construction equipment. And this is another example of just being in the right place at the right time and having patience. I had no idea this was going to happen. There was an inkling in the air that something might happen, so I went ahead and positioned myself near the law enforcement staging area and just waited. Sure enough, when I saw that first APD cruiser fly past me, I knew it was time to go to work and take some pictures. On May 3rd, tragedy struck Midtown Atlanta. An active shooter opened fire inside a Midtown Atlanta medical building, killing one and injuring 4 others. This sparked a massive, multi-agency manhunt that spanned Metro Atlanta. After nearly 8 hours, the alleged shooter, Dion Patterson, was captured and brought to jail.
And the next thing you know, the sky opens up, and this tree, as you see, this massive tree right here, it just falls in slow motion, and it turned that van into a soda can.
Severe weather always gets our attention, and this tree that split a van in half really stood out. And then, of course, there's the story that dominated headlines for much of 2023. And it culminated on August 24th when former President Donald Trump surrendered himself to the Fulton County Jail. He was booked and received a mugshot. This drew a large crowd from people on both sides of the issue. Some held signs saying lock him up, others witch hunt. And you know, one thing that stands out to me about that day was that it was near 90 degrees. It was incredibly hot and people were doing everything they could to stay cool. But they also didn't want to leave. They had to see the action. Meanwhile, the sheriff's deputies who were there, making sure everything stayed safe, they were using towels they put on their head to stay cool. It didn't take long for popular Atlanta muralist Chris Veal to paint his rendition of the mugshot seen around the world on the Atlanta Beltline. And who can forget that September day when a crane truck collapsed through the parking deck of the newly built public shopping center. This was another example of how a drone was the right tool for the job. It was hard to see the crane truck from the ground, but a drone captured it perfectly. And finally, one of the most talked about stories this year was the fire at the reserve at La Vista Walk. The Atlanta Fire Department threw everything they had at this fire. I've never seen so many ladder trucks. Whether it was the way the fire was allegedly sparked, or the sheer number of people impacted by this blaze, this story resonated with the Atlanta community, sparked a lot of conversation, and a lawsuit. And that's a wrap on some of the biggest stories that I contributed to during 2023. I'm proud of my work, and I'm proud of every journalist working hard every day to bring you the news. It's safe to say we're not slowing down in 2024. Stay tuned.